So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Before I get into all the topics that I would like to share with all of you, please don't forget, and I know you guys are doing it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, your first time here, I don't think you'll have any regrets. Subscribe to the channel, you're gonna like it. I also want to share with all of you that by me telling all of you to please ring the bell, I've had quite a few of the subscribers that were telling me that they were not getting no information when I was live streaming or live video, whatever it was. They're getting it now with that little ding ding, bing 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 bing, the little bing bing. So it's working out. So thank you very much for doing that little bell. That little bell does really work. So just to let you guys know. Um, I also want to talk a little bit about yeah. I also want to talk a little bit about gold and we the other day we had fun talking about gold, and we had quite a few different subscribers who are interested in purchasing gold, and some of you left some real good comments and messages, whatever you want to call it, and I found them to be good. I found them to be humorous, funny as well. Like we have one here that says. This is kind of serious, but it's a good one. It says gold is an unbelievable and unbeatable element, and it's true. So you guys have to, have that in your head. And also somebody wrote down the Fed started printing money and gold jumped up. So that's unbelievable. Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Evil. Thank you very much for that super chat. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. So some people left some great messages, and this one is real good. This one is between, I believe, this message here. I don't even know if I should say the names. I won't say the names. Maybe they'll know who I'm talking about when I say this one. It says here, somebody asks, what happens when they reevaluate gold at $3,400, and the other person, one of the subscribers answered back, and he wrote down this: they're going to be on a spaceship while we be kicking tires. So I found that one to be real funny. It was between Dr. Evil and Mr. Donut. They were just it was a funny one there. Somebody else wrote down rhodium is the real cryptocurrency. Did you understand that? Somebody wrote down. I didn't write this down. Somebody wrote down that rhodium is the real cryptocurrency. And another one wrote down cash is the US dollar, and unfortunately is losing value worldwide. These are what people wrote down. You got to go to one of those little, go in there, and Google it, and you'll buy it. But it's just going, I'm telling you, I've been telling you guys, about rhodium, and when I saw that, I go, well, I'm not gonna say it's, the real cryptocurrency, but it has shown that rhodium has been very, very powerful. Who you should ask that question to, also to maybe Dr. Evil knows something about rhodium, about that. And then somebody wrote here, before the kaboom, gold will go up, then drop, and then the big combazo, boom. So, some people, they have their, somebody wrote here too, a gallon of gas still costs a quarter, but the quarter has to be produced before 1964. You know, I mean, so I read those comments, and I found them, I found them good. So I want you to know that these people, the owners of the world, they have four things that is unbelievable, and you're gonna. Do you know what are the four things those people have? The owners of the world, you know what I'm saying? You know what they are? Four things that the owners of the world have, and that's all they need. to get all of us lambones and palomos. You know what it is? Does anybody know what are the four things that these owners of the world, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, all these names, all this. Well, the number one thing they of the four things that they control and they have are the banking system. That's one. Social media is two. Social media is two. Religion is three. And the school education, the university education, whatever you want to call it. And what is left after that? What is left after you have control? They have control of the banking system, religion, education, social media. What is left? Nothing is left for us because, we're a bunch of palomos. They have it all controlled. So, I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you what it is. Oil is, Papa, with social media today, the banking, religion, education, and social media, that's it, Papi. It's a super trifecta. You know what a super trifecta is? It's not three numbers, it's four. Super trifecta. Acaban con todo el mundo, So, just to let you know, Go Today is still there, like I was telling you, it's doing this. It's doing this, ready to do this. That's what I believe. It's just doing this. And boom. Is it going to stay there when it gets boom? No, 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 no. You're going to have to cash in quickly. Tienen que correr. Suelten el oro. Let go. But that's just me. My other topic that I want to talk about, we heard about a channel that you guys are, fanatics of him probably, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's very knowledgeable man, hombre brillante, very brilliant. We're talking about no other than, the Ghost, train jumper. The Ghost train jumper. We're going to talking about him. So the Ghost train jumper is going separate ways. With the people from 47th Street, in the Diamond District, he wants to branch out, him, his son, they call him Vacuum, they're all going different ways. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, it's because the situation está jodida. The situation is frogged up, it's frogged up, so people are going in different directions. So you have there, the Ghost Train Jumper talking about it. He seems like he's going to cry. Maybe you should go take a look, see at that video about him talking about that, there's no harm. Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's doing their own thing. As you can see, you have the other gentleman, from that stable, which I call in a very friendly, funny way. I call him, the skin tight Gene, with the little man bun in the back that he got robbed. They knocked him on the floor. They hit him in the head. They took $500,000 watches, and he's been all over, Nightline, Dateline, 48 Hours. He's been on all those channels. I don't know if you know about this, but he's been all over the place, and it's unbelievable. So, he's doing his own thing, and he's talking about now that he was a heavy gambler. I can tell you that most of watch dealers. Most of all the watch dealers, they have some kind of an addiction of gambling. So, just to clarify that, I'm not saying all the watch dealers, but I can promise you that most of them, they like to gamble. So, now he's going around, the Genie, with the man bun, the skin tight hair, the one that got robbed. And he's talking about his testimony that he was a gambler and he was gambling all his money away. So, maybe, boom. I need money. I'm gambling too much. I'm basketball. I'm baseball. So you know what's going on. You understand what I'm trying to say? These people are unbelievable, and these people they make up stories. Exactly the coin flip kings. Those people are unbelievable. They are unbelievable. So going back again to the subway train jumper. The ghost subway train jumper. You're saying all these things, and then you got this other gentleman who you guys like to look at too. I call him in a sweet way. I call him Uncle Johnny Eddie Monster. He is answering back. And everything that I have told you, he's saying it now. Everything that I say, people want to say. He's telling them, he's telling the Ghost Train Jumper from 47th Street, the Diamond District, that all the videos that they make is all stage. All stage. Like I told you, everything is stage. So, this Uncle Johnny, Eddie Monster belonged to that stable. But it's just too many things are going on, robberies, people taking links, moving movements from one watch to the other. You know what I'm trying to say? This is for real. This is square business, what I'm talking about. They sell you a watch, a brand new watch, 3 links are missing, 2 links are missing. They do the chop chop switch, they take one from Chinatown, they put that one in, they get the real one, they put it away, and we continue. Do you guys want to soar with the eagles or you want to crawl with the rats? Because basically you guys been for years crawling with the rats. Now you have an opportunity, to soar with the eagles. With me and Sweet Kid Kino, who's very quiet today. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you what's going on. I tell you the honest truth. So these people now are all, moving all over the place. Because they have been, doing horrible things. Listen, if you hear the stories that I hear from that place over there, and the Diamond place over there in New York, the Diamond place is unbelievable. What they do to people over there is unbelievable, Exactly. That's exactly true, 100%. What Dr. Evil just wrote down, that's 1,000% true. They're switching things all over the place. They're giving people Frankenstein watches, with this part from Italy, that part from Xinjiang, that part from, I don't know, from Miami. You know what I'm trying to say, It's like a puzzle is what they're giving you, So I'm telling you, they have been doing this for many years, so this is why the clan, if you guys don't understand me, this is why the clan is breaking up. Because too many things have been going on, You've been frogging people left and right, frogging and frogging deeply, And so people are getting, every day, are getting a bad name. Like right now, you're hearing me say this. I haven't said a name, but you understand what I'm trying to say, If you see what the Ghost Train Jumper has in parts, you can build a Frankenstein, a real monster Frankenstein, with the plugs. You know what I'm trying to say? These people are unbelievable. These people are nasty, Exactly. They're eating each other. And there's even been, if you don't know this, you're going to know it today. And you're going to ask yourself, but how do you know these things? Because I have no other than this person in my team, the owner of this channel, the brains of this channel. I'm the voice, he's the brains. Sweet Kid Kino to me, Joaquin to you. That's why we know everything. These people have gone into fist fights already, because el robo, the robbery has been too big. The robbery has been too big on those New Yorkers. It's not normal for New Yorkers, which you have this Diamond District in New York City, flying from New York to go to Italy, go to London, go to other places, to buy watches, because those people don't trust those people no more. Esa gente son maleante. Those people take off your socks off without taking off your shoes. These people are unbelievable. These people, they don't have, and then the ones that are flipping now, they're becoming good people, like Uncle Johnny, Eddie Monster. Now he's becoming a good person, and he wants to go out there and be good, and be honest. But that's after, for the last 20 plus years he's been doing this to you. I have to flip, they have to flip to the better side, and that's what he's doing. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying, but I'm telling you that so you know what's going on, what's happening out there. There's another story that I want to tell you, Exactly. The corona money. Exactly. There's another thing that I want to tell you, all of you out there, is that again, Sweet Kid Kino's always watching everything and mumbling with other people. They are in his life. Kino, he's from the underworld. He's changed completely. He's trying to become a better man, but he still has contacts all over the world. And you have this other company, that sells watches. It's unbelievable, this company. We're talking about no other than Feet Happy, with the two brothers. One is tall, one is short, one is smart, one is dumb, one talks, one is introverted, they hang out with Toupee Wigman with the pink jeans, the green shoes, the yellow belt, the flower shirt, and the toupee, Joaquin knows, man. Joaquin is too much. And Joaquin was explaining to me that these people, because when we have to give credit to people, we give credit to people even if we don't like them, even if we disagree with them. We give it to them. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to give those two people. They were taught very well by their father. With the lollipops and the candies. You go to school and sell them. And the more you sell candies, that's going to let me know how good you're going to become a salesman. Those kids were trained. The short guy and the tall guy, from Feet Happy. But ladies and gentlemen, these people are brilliant. So they brought three superstars to their show. One was dressed in red. Red jacket, red pants, red Ferrari hat. Like he had like an outfit, a Ferrari on, And he brought another one too, Feet Happy. Brought another one with a hat backwards. You got to see these people. These people were all greased up, They were all greased up, and they say Kino was telling in the front of the jewelry store, ¿cuántos carros habían, Kino? ¿Cuántos eran? El amarillo, el verde, y el rojo. Red, green, and yellow Ferraris and Lambos, Spartasa, and Porsches. These guys were coming in, And then we're talking about what I've been telling you guys for the longest about tariffs. Back then, back in the 60s, when Rolex would send their watch parts to be built in other places like Mexico, you know what I'm saying? The United States, because of tariffs. So they were talking about tariffs, ladies and gentlemen. And these people are so brilliant, ladies and gentlemen, that they were saying that tariffs are not really going to be a big deal for the king of watches, because, even if they put a 39%, people are still going to buy the Rolex watches. This is the subliminal message they're giving you, So you can get used to the idea when Monday it goes up to 39% that you don't care about Rolex and you're still going to pay it, because Rolex is basically, and what they were saying is, in a very beautiful way they were saying it, it's the dog with fleas of all the watches. Talking about a $15,000 watch, $20,000 watch, and if it goes to 39%, it's no biggie. People are still going to buy it because they want the watch. You know what 39% is on $15,000? Can anybody tell me what 39% is on $20,000? 20,000, round it up to 20. 39%. It's nothing to you because it's the dog with fleece watches. So this is what that guy said. He doesn't say it like that. It's my mind and Kino's mind. We work that way. We know what he's saying. Esto para pobre, para lambón. $12,000? No, it can't be $12,000. Really? It's crazy, Look at that, $27,800. Come on. You think people are going to be buying watches? They will cost $20,000 and now they're going to cost $27,800? You got to be out of your mind. But check this out. Check this out, papi. Para que no sean palomos. Para que no sean lambones. And guess, those three experts they brought, backward hats, man in red, the man in red, cameraman. And they were saying afterwards too. So let me ask you a question. What's going to happen then if it does go to 39%, and then tomorrow, the new administration over there in Pennsylvania Avenue, they lower the tariff. And, one of them, say, the ones who are being paid, the ones who are being greased up. He says, nothing is going to happen. The price is going to stay the same. So they're giving you all these. Es que es que son una infección en la uña. They're an infection in the nail, in the corner of the nail. They're an infection. They're an infection. They're giving you this subliminal message. And let me try to explain to you something about these people that have money. People that have money, they honestly believe what I'm trying to tell you now. These people that have money, they think like the big super trifecta, like the ones that control the banking system, social media, religion, and education. That's how they think. They think of you as dumbskis. They dumb down on you people. But I'm here so that won't happen to you guys. And this is the message. Probably gave him a couple of watches there at cost. Come over here and shoot the shit with us. Excuse my French, but I can say that to every once in a while. Shoot the shit here with us. Say this BS. Say this BS. Give him the Pluto trance. Let him know what's going to happen. That if the price goes up to 39%, it's never going to go back down. And the only watches they're going to get the big, big hits because the Rolex watches are like dog with fleas. A 39% is nothing. You know what they're worried about? They're worried about AP. They're worried about Patek Philippe. They're worried about Richard Mille, which Richard Mille watches are dead in water, but just in case, Richard Mille, these watches, these things, these watches that they have in their mind, the trifecta watches. But they say that the Rolex watches are the dogs. But let me explain to you something. That is the watch brand that those people from Feet Happy sell the most. Let me put it in a better way. That is the watch that every single dealer sells the most. I don't care where you come from. I don't care where you come from. No me interesa donde venga. El reloj que más se vende, the watch that sells the most all over the globe, the world, is Rolex. But they're giving you the message because they're going to give it to you deeply. They're going to give it to you. They're making you now understand the way things are going to move, what's going to happen, giving you lead time so you can get it, So you imagine what what they were talking about. They said, so let's say I watch this, an example, $200,000, right? I said it wrong. A watch that costs $100,000 because there are a bunch of them that cost $100,000. You put a 39% on that watch that costs $100. How much is that? $100,000. Now you're going to put a 39% on top of that. 39%. That's what they're worried about. About those watches they're worried about. But they're saying that these watches, no, you buy a Datejust, you buy a Datejust, $40,000, $139,000. This is what they're talking to you. This is the subliminal message they're giving to you. You know what Pluto does to olive oil, He puts in a trance and then he takes her, he takes her and he goes play. He plays with her, he throws her around, he does whatever he wants with her. You know what I'm trying to say, Bobby. You guys are smart. I know some of you you guys don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear the truth. You want to continue hearing the lie. Because today, in today's world, a lie is in style. Lying is in style. Meter mentira es increíble. Es lo más lindo del mundo, Little jumbo juice, I think the lady that cleans our house, she did something to this one. Exactly. Very well, Nelson. Very well. So they're telling you this. So somebody has to go out and tell you, these things. And it's me. And Sweet Kid Kino. To me, Joaquin to you. We have to tell you the truth. This is what these people are doing. This is what it is. It is. That's how it is, Damon. That's how it is. And it's the truth. And I'm here, telling you what's happening, what they're doing. It's un plan de attack. It's a plan of attack. We have to attack these people. I'm telling you one more time. These people that have money, they want to be like the owners of the world. They're never going to be like the owners of the world, but they have the blueprints. They know how they work. The people that own the world, they don't have no sympathy for us or empathy for us. To them, it's just all dollar signs. And the same thing with these people. It's just all dollar signs. That's how they see it. Those two young kids, when they were growing up with their father, that's how they were taught. And in reality, if you ask me, but one, do you know that? Of course I know that. But I don't want to use it every day against people. What I know, you don't, because that's like being, eso como un racista, like being a racist, you know? In the business world, I'm talking about in the business world, okay? Don't get the word, don't go cuckoo pops on me, Don't go cuckoo pops. So, and these people, this is how they're using it. They're using it like we're dumbskis. Exactly. Well, it's not, but to them, listen, to these people, it's just, if they can sell 50 units, an example, and make $1 million, they made money. And if they sell 1,000 units and make $1 million, it's still the same thing. They made $1 million. Less, they had to work harder, and la ganancia, the winnings were lower, but at the long run, it was $1 million. That's how they see it. You sold 50 to make a million. Now you sell 1,000 to make a million. You got to work. Like we have an army. The army. The one army. I don't know. That's what the Damon calls it. I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? So we have this, going on. So you guys have to be smart. You have the other guy. Which is un oportunista. Un oportunista. How do you say oportunista? ¿Cómo se dice oportunista? Opportunist? An opportunist. We have this other lambón, with the boxing black eyes. Then now he's coming out and let me start making now commercials. I want your watches, because he knows. He knows. Is this the time right now? Is this in the housing market? Is it a seller's market or a buyer's market? What is it? I think it's a buyer's market, right? I think so, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think houses have gone down in prices. The people are even holding their houses back now because, and the interest and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. What is it? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? What is it? Exactly. Eso me invito grande. Eso me invito. So, these people now, they want to buy your watches. They want to buy all your watches, whatever it is. Because they know you people están apretados, están jodidos. Están jodidos. La gente está jodida. Big time buyer's market. There you go. You see, I don't know nothing about real estate, but I'm telling you, it's a buyer's market. So it's the same thing. Listen to me, and I'm not going to call you sandbags. I'm not going to call you crumb bums. None of that. I have a lot of respect, for my, for my recovering, tomato cans. I'm not. But if you see that it's a buyer's market in the housing industry, it's the same thing with the watches. It's a buyer's, they're going to buy now. They're going to buy. They're going to buy whatever they can get their hands on. They're going to come in and just, I need money. I need to pay my child's school. I need to pay my daughter's bracelets. I need to pay my house payment, blah, 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 blah. And they're taking whatever they can take, Cash is king, papi. I've been telling you forever. Smart money is staying away from luxury goods. It's a sucker's bet. Guys, let me ask you a question, because you guys see me probably 3 times a week live now. I'm just doing lives. And I've been telling you for the longest, man, that things are bad out there. Do you honestly believe that things are not that good out there economically, or you think things are, everybody's doing well? Honestly. We're doing well then. Okay, so we're doing well then. Not good. There you go. Who's this? Who's this? This is Alberto. Alberto. Italian Alberto? Bad. There you go. Bad. So, so that's what's going on, Okay, the stock market is holding up. Okay. More and more homeless. Exactly. Listen to me. There's people. Bravo, Alberto, bravo. Buonasera. And there's people out there, they're living in their cars. There's people out there living in tent cities. The situation is bad. And these people, they all know that. They all know it. All these people that they're in the watch business, they know it. They know it. This is when they come for you. This is when they come and they take your Rolex Daytona Panda, for $18,000, $19,000, because not everybody has $18,000 and $19,000. And that mom and papa pawn shop is not going to give you $18,000 because they don't pawn. They only pawn bongos, power tools, TVs, plasma when they were plasmas, DVDs, Game Boys, pawn shops. So you need to know somebody in the high end goods, people that pawn Picasso, statues, Hermes bags, but nobody has $18,000. They don't. They're still thinking about Willie Mays baseball cards, Roberto Clemente, but they don't have to be giving $18,000. First of all, $18,000 in one of those mom and papa pawn shops are going to charge you a 10%. It's losing value. You know it. I've been telling you, for how long have I been telling you that a dollar today buys you a nickel? Eso es así. Eso es correcto, papá Damon. You know your stuff. Eso es así, papi. Eso es así. La situación está jodida. The situation is chaotic. It's a chaos out there. There's people eating each other. In that 47th Street, they're all turning their faces on each other because they got a bad name, man. You got people deep, all the way in, deep. And people say, look, man, we don't want you here no more. You need to kiss. You did this, you did that. You got the 10 Commandments guy selling necklace diamonds. They were lab diamonds to a kid that has some kind of a condition. You follow what I'm trying to say? You have that kid over there, vacuum, selling you a brand new watch with 3 links missing, a couple of screws missing, the dial swap. Papi, la situación está jodida. No sean pendejos. No sean pendejos. And the only one that's doing this kind of content is Sweet Kid Kino. He's the only one. He's the only one doing this. Sometimes he's right. He's right. Because nobody else is going to be doing this, guys. Nobody. They will never do this. You crazy? This is crossing the line. What I'm doing, we're crossing the line. We're crossing the picket line. Buffalino, Buffalino and the Irish, with Jimmy Hoffa, they crossed the line. You guys don't know about that kind of stuff. You guys don't know about that, I'm going to give you a watch market update because, I know that's what you guys want, and I'm going to give you that because you deserve that. You deserve that, but you guys got to get ready. You guys got to put in your you got to put in. You got to put in some, hay que ser inteligente, muchacho. Hay que ser inteligente. Esta gente son el diablo. Son el diablo. These people are unbelievable. These people are, son malos. They're bad people. They're bad. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go into the watch market. Thank you very much, Dr. Evil, for that. Listen, man. If you guys, have any doubt of me if you have any doubt of me for real, man, listen, man, just Google it, man. Go out there and look for it. I'm telling you, these people, they know how to. This is why they control the world. This is why they control the world. Don't think for a moment that 39%, that guy over there in the White House is doing that. That's not him, man. I told you here that, since Dwight Eisenhower, there has not been a president that has been a president in this country. He's been a puppet who's there. The big round table and the 3 letters. The ICA. That's it. They're the ones. They're the ones that do everything. And then they send them over there, for a couple of days, summer vacation, to the Bohemian Grove over there, to light the owl. You know what I'm saying? And they all stand, they salute, you know? They do the owl. All of them do the owl. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a president doing the owl? Unbelievable with you. Can you imagine Kino doing I say, yo mio, don't punish me, please. I'm trying to make it funny. the salute over there in the Bohemian Grove is this. Unbelievable, unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take some of this thing this lady prepared for me. I don't know. I need my wife to prepare my jungle juice. Forget it. I'm telling you what it is, I'm not involved in the blue team or the red team because I've been awakened for so many years. For so many years. The last president, it's been a long time. And if you don't believe me, you go take a look at Dwight Eisenhower's, when he left, Pennsylvania Avenue. He told people, it was 1960 something, I don't know what year, 60, I don't know what year it was. But he told people before he left, there are two things you have to look out in this country. And he said it. And let me tell you something. I don't know if back then it was accelerated that, people would get clipped, or it was just like, hey, let it go, let it go. Because if you do that today, well, you saw what happened to that guy, that new guy in administration, boom, boom, I don't know what happened there. They missed because when those people, they stretch the heart, how do you call that? Bow and arrow, boom, they don't miss. They don't miss. And, they say they hit him in the ear, and you don't even know if that was, all staged, but, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't talk no more, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to happen. Look, pack, okay? I can't. 1960. Thank you very much. 1960. He told all of us you needed to watch the ICA and you needed to watch the army, the military, something to that effect. Man, if you say that today, you will get clipped, man, in a moment. What are you talking about? And he left, and that was it. But he told everybody what was happening in that time in 1960, man. He told people what was happening. Pero éramos unos palomos. We were naive. We would skip hopping around with Betty Crocker. Betty Crocker that makes those cakes. Betty Crocker, the housewife. It's unbelievable. The military-industrial complex. Yeah, I told you guys that. And, this is what's going on. There's no way in the world the red or blue run this country. It will never exactly host. It's no way in the world. So they're telling this guy, the new guy in the administration, you put the 39% because we need to make money. We need to make money. And their money is not millions and not billions. Their money is trillions of dollars. Trillions. The other guy, over there, the Walking Dead. The Rothschilds, they're all dead. They're all dead. But these people are worth $600 trillion. Nothing like nobody. And what are they? Bankers. All bankers. I mean, I'm telling you, man, what I drop here for you guys for free is unbelievable. It's all for free. No membership, no making no reviews on your watches, a review. I heard people out there, it's disgusting. Yo soy un lambón, and Kino tells me que I'm a lambón. Es verdad, tú tienes razón, Kino, yo soy un lambón. Y un palomo, es verdad. It's what it is. I'm going to give you a watch market update because I feel a little bit I feel a little bit like this jungle juice is not really, look what she did. Ice, an ice ball in there. What is that? So, ladies and gentlemen, our first watch. Our first watch is from one of our subscribers who asked me for this watch. And it's a Patek Philippe white gold 5740 with a blue dial. Beautiful watch. Beautiful, beautiful watch. The retail price on this watch, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. This watch is expensive, so it's like not anybody is going to drop, the money they're asking for this watch. This watch was at $400,000, in that bing, 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 bing era, $400,000. The retail price of that watch is $169,220, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to be smart. You need to understand. La situación económica está jodida, papi. Está jodida. The situation economically is frogged up. That's what I said in Spanish. Okay? It's frogged up. It's not well. So I'm going to tell you, sir, if you're planning to buy that used slider condition watch, don't pay for that watch more, and I mean more, than $179,000 and dropping all over again. Dropping again, okay? Just to let you know, wake up. You guys need to wake up. I had to do it, You guys need to wake up. I'm going to talk to you about another watch. This is an independent watch company, independent. And all these people, they are watch dealers. They love independent watches because these watches cost, 10 cents to the dollar. But they put it all the way to the stars. We're going to be talking about a De Batun. De Batun? De Batun? This watch is, it's a beautiful watch. But they're independent, small little thing. If you go to Geneva, Switzerland, you can find there, I don't know how many independent watch companies you'll find there. You'll find Kino there, you'll find me there, you'll find Damon there, you'll find Ed over there, Mr. Donut, you'll find them all over there independent. You don't understand. They're in every corner. In that little house over there, there's an independent guy. And so you have people like Boxing Black Eyes, who was really pushing De Batun, And I'm going to talk to you about this watch, the DB22 Power Reserve with a 48 millimeter casing, rose gold. I mean, this is a monster watch, a skeleton, brutal watch, a limited edition, Papi, it was a monster watch. And they were asking for this watch at one moment. Give me $150. These people, the Juarez, the Hungry Hippo, Mr. Magoo. You know what I'm trying to say? And Big Pun and Heavy D, the two Jehovah Witness brothers. You understand me? Because they all get the same memo. And the one that had it under control was that guy. You know what I'm trying to say? That guy had it under control. Limited edition equals that, correct? And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know from that $150,000 they were asking for this type of watch, but this is an unbelievable watch. I got to tell you, this is an unbelievable exhibition. It has everything, the hand dial, a skeleton, it's blue dial, rose gold, leather strap. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, again, limited edition. Don't pay for that watch more. You do whatever you want. Don't pay for that watch more than $24,500 and bam! Here it is, guys. So if you're thinking and you're looking into buying something from, Boxing Black Eyes, you know what's going on. You know where that watch lands. It lands on his lap, It lands on, Dora the Explorer, You understand? The Cricket, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. That's stable. I say it the way it is. I say it the way it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about a watch that at one moment, this watch, it's going to be hard for you to believe this, but this watch at one moment was worth over $800,000. $800,000. We're talking about a Patek Philippe Nautilus, white gold, not a limited edition, just an anniversary watch. This is the 5976 white gold 40th anniversary. Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable watch. Beautiful watch. And ladies and gentlemen, this watch was given to colossals, to people that they would just, they didn't care giving their money away. They would just give it away, and these people will get these watches because they were the chosen ones from their shops, from their watch store. They were number one because they would spend all the money. They would get a shot of this watch, and it's the Patek Philippe white gold blue dial 5976 40th anniversary chronograph. Beautiful watch, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want. It even has little diamond markers on the dial, Don't pay for that watch. And I mean, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. You cut the clip, sir, and you send it out. You cut the clip. You go and you cut a clip from me saying the price of that Patek Philippe Nautilus white gold blue dial. Don't pay for that watch. Does anybody know what I'm going to say not to pay for that watch? Does anybody know? Nobody knows? Nobody wants to get involved in this one? No? Okay, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. But don't. This is a very, very heavy piece. This is a very, very heavy piece. 195. Okay, I'm going to tell you, don't pay for this watch. Don't pay for this watch more, sir. Don't pay more than $298,000 and dropping. You do whatever you want with your money. It's your money. I understand you have deep pockets that touch the floor. Hey, don't do it, man. Don't do it. You're messing it up for so many people out there. That's what I got to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I have here a Gerald Perregaux, Loretto, skeletonized, rose gold, 42 millimeter. 42 millimeter. Reference number 8101552000252A. And ladies and gentlemen, this is an unbelievable watch. This is an unbelievable watch. They were trying to hype this watch in the Corona beer era. They were trying to make it look like a Patek Philippe, like an Audemars Piguet. This watch. Very, very powerful name, Gerald Perregaux, but they've been bouncing. Look at Damon. They've been bouncing all over the place, and it's all rose gold, skeletonized, all that good stuff. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Damon just finished saying, don't pay more than 32, and that's wonderful because that is the number that watch is heading to the number he just put down, 32. But I'm going to tell you today, don't pay for that watch more than $41,000, and you do whatever you want with your money. It's your money. You do whatever you want. You can continue maintaining these people's lifestyle. You can continue maintaining their red gold fast car, their green fast car, sushi dinner, steak dinner, with the guy with the white t-shirt, sunglasses, the Patek 5980 he had to pawn. He had to sell it already because he's done already. He's done. $17,000 dinners, Nike, Louis Vuitton sneakers, Montclair sweaters, Supreme hoodies, all that good stuff. You can continue doing that. It's your money. You do whatever you want. It's your money. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about a Rolex stainless steel Yacht Master 44 millimeter stainless steel. Reference number 116680. This one has the Mercedes-Benz hand. The Mercedes-Benz hand. This doesn't have the blue hand. The Mercedes-Benz, white, hand, And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, you do whatever you want. It's your money, and you do whatever you want. But don't pay for that Rolex stainless steel Yacht Master 44 millimeter with the Mercedes-Benz hand. Don't pay more. 116680 is the reference number. Don't pay for that watch more. And I mean, don't pay more than $15,000 and you do whatever you want. The party has started. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak white gold frosted. Frosted gold, white gold. Unbelievable time machine, chronograph, reference number 26331 BC, 41 millimeter, with a black, black and blue dial, the dial is black and the gauges are blue. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't want to tell you how much this watch was in the Corona era. I don't want to tell you. I really don't want to tell you how much it was because it was disgusting. It was disgusting how people will continue to give away their money for free. Just give it away, Unbelievable. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, not for nothing. This is a beautiful watch, Frosted white gold, chronograph, black dial with the blue gauges. Beautiful. I'm talking about a beautiful watch. And ladies and gentlemen, it was like that song says, all the way up, all the way up. Like the song, They're not like us. They're not like us. All the way up. Ladies and gentlemen, that thing was dangerous. Dangerous. You're talking about $375,000, that watch. And I'm going to tell you today, so you can be smarter. Don't pay for that watch. Don't pay for it more than $98,000. And bam! I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another watch that was released sometime in that place over there in Geneva, when they had the big convention of all the watches of the releases. They have they released this watch, the Rolex white gold Sprite. And you're not gonna believe what these people are already telling people out there. If you haven't heard it, have you heard what they're telling people out there about this watch? Does anybody know? Ellos no saben. ¿Quién no? Ninguno saben de ellos. Ellos no saben. Ellos no saben. Does anybody know what these Muppet boiler room secondary grade watch market channels and dealers are telling you people out there? The subliminal message, what they're telling you, you don't know, right? So you're going to hear it for the first time. You want to hear it? Tell me yes or no, because if you don't tell me yes, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you. No se lo voy a decir, I'm not going to tell them. I want them to find out. Can you believe that, Mr. Dr. Evil? Can you believe that? They're telling people already. Listen to what they're telling people now. They're telling them that this Rolex white gold GMT Sprite with the green dial, the crayon green dial with the black and green ceramic bezel, they're telling people white gold. They're telling that they're gonna make that watch for 1 year, which is this year, and then goodbye. Again, this is what they do to you people, This is what they do, and we're talking about the Rolex white gold GMT Sprite, 40 millimeter, green dial, green dial, green black ceramic bezel, reference number 126729. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna tell you, don't pay for this watch. You're gonna go, how can that be? That's how it is. That watch is dead. Listen to me one more time. That watch is dead. Ellos no saben nada, Kino. No saben nada. If they call you for that watch, look, you're good with that one. You're good with that one. But if they call you for a white gold Sprite that they're asking you 48,000, I don't know how much to retail, 48 something, I'm gonna tell you, if you like it because you want to rock it, you want to wear it, you want to go to a sports event with it on, that's beautiful. But if you're buying it because you think there's meat left on the bone of that watch, está muy jodido. Está muy jodido. I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch. And I mean, don't pay for that watch. I mean, you're not going to believe this. I have to tell you the truth. Don't pay for that watch more than $47,500. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about a Richard Mille, the RM010 Rose Gold, with a 55-hour power reserve. 55 power reserve. This watch at one moment, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it was over this. This $400,000 all day long. The pants with the orange dial, like Dr. Evil says, the rubber strap costs like $20,000. Unbelievable. And then they will put the little matching rubber on the little crown. These people are unbelievable. These people are no cretins. They're cretins. They're cretins. I'm telling you what it is. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the RM010 Rose Gold Richard Mille 55-hour power reserve. Don't pay for that watch, and I mean don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $102,000. And done! Done! Richard Mille watches are dead in a backyard pool and floating face down like this. Dead. Is dead. You do whatever you want, it's dead. You do whatever you want. Richard Mille watches is an embarrassment. Le tiro duro. Richard Mille watches para lambones y palomos. Richard Mille watches are for lambones and palomos. You know that guy, ZJ, and the other one, I forgot his name. Williams, William Farrell, those people. Papi, es una porquería. Es una porquería. Don't get involved in that. You already lost money, but don't get involved in that. There's people getting phone calls left and right today from Richard Mille. I don't want it. I don't want it. Ya no hay más. No hay más carne en el hueso. There's no more meat left in the bone. You do whatever you want. Exactly. Very well said. Very well said. Eso no sirve. Eso es tremenda porquería. That's what I got to tell you. And lucky unbelievable, but true, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe this. I'm telling you what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, I have another Richard Mille. Unbelievable, the baby Nadal. For any Richard Mille, Rafael Nadal, it was $550,000, $700,000. Watch this, $2.5 million. Pero ¿de dónde? ¿De dónde? It's that watch brand. I am still, aparentemente, I can't say it's like that. You gotta say, that word that, Paco showed me, allegedly, allegedly, that's what that watch was used, as a wire transfer watch. Wire transfer watch. Over. Baby Nadal. You don't know about that? You guys don't know about that? The wire transfer watch? I made a video on that. Richard Mille watches were used, exactly, as currency. Entonces jodió. Ya se jodió. A melon, papi, it was a melon. I'm telling you, these watches were from $700 to $2.5 million. And this is the baby Nadal. Unbelievable, this watch. Unbelievable. Black, black casing and like a Velcro black strap. Velcro, papi, Velcro. Don't pay for that watch more, and I mean more than $178,000. And Kino, push me back. Jálame. Dump me again. Whatever back, Kino. Jálame. Dump me again. I think I injured my neck. Unbelievable. I think I got to go to a chiropractor. Unbelievable. You do whatever you want with your money. It's your money. You do whatever you want. Richard Mille prices are not overpriced. Richard Mille prices are dead. He's dead. You see these little. I need some jungle juice. Thank you, Damon, for reminding me. It's not the best jungle juice because the lady that cleans our house, she did it for me. She's been with us for 22 years, but I don't think she knows what she did to me here. I don't know. You see that it's kind of the bottom. You see, my wife makes it clear. I don't like that too much. I don't like it. That's unbelievable. It smells beautiful. Tell you already the price. Don't pay more than 178,000. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about a watch. And I'm happy I have these watches like De Batun. Now I'm going to talk about, Grand Seiko. Grand Seiko, ladies and gentlemen. Grand Seiko. Beautiful watch. Grand Seiko. The high beat. The SBGJ235 with a blue dial. Unbelievable GMT. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. You need some jungle juice, Pete? Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Grand Seiko, high beat. They all have their own, catchphrase. High beat. GMT. Collector's dream, collector's choice, collector's grave, collector's grave. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And you can only get this watch from the boutique, from the Grand Seiko boutique. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to give a chance to everybody. We cannot just talk about Rolex and AP, and Patek's, and Richard Milles and Vacheron. We gotta talk a little bit about, gotta give people, let's be nice, let's have some empathy. Ladies and gentlemen, boutique edition, retail price, you won't believe this, ladies and gentlemen. You won't believe this, but this is a retail price of $6,900. Sir, you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want with your Grand Seiko. It's an unbelievable watch. It is. But don't pay for that watch more than $3,700 and dropping. And you want a full set with all the bells and whistles. You do whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Oh my God, what Damon wrote there. You know it, Damon. I gotta be honest. I'm just telling you, you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I have another watch here that this right here, I've been telling you guys for the last, I would say easy, the last 2 years, I've been talking to you guys about this watch. I said, if you want to buy a watch, there's really, I would say a collector's dream, a collector's dream. I'm going to be talking about a Rolex white gold. Rolex white gold with a blue ceramic bezel, with a blue dial, with a blue nipple dial, blue nipple, the nipple in your chest, nipple dial, blue diamond nipple dial, Smurf. When this watch first came out, they made the basic one, white gold, blue ceramic, blue dial, and that's it, the Smurf. But then they threw a couple of them out there, Rolex, they threw a couple of, they were little snakes. They threw a couple of them out there with diamond blue dial, nipples on the markers, little round diamonds. And that's a special watch. And somebody is looking into, not the cookie, okay, maybe the Cookie Monster is nice, okay. I have the Cookie Monster, Franco, I have that watch. But so this watch, they didn't produce it that much. And people were overlooking it, and it's the watch that has basically, hold the real value of that watch. Is that one with the diamond nipple dials, And look into it, it's beautiful. If you're gonna look, in most of those watches, they come with all the bells and whistles, box, everything, everything. Comes with everything. And I'm gonna tell you, sir, because you're looking for that watch, don't pay for that watch more. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, but the watch market is dead. Don't pay for that watch more than $36,000, and you're paying $36,000 because it has a diamond blue dial. That's all. That's all. Be careful. Be careful out there. You do whatever you want. Be careful out there. You do whatever you want. Deep, deep. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Omega Speedmaster. Chronoscope. The chronoscope. This is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. You won't believe these watches. That Omega to me makes unbelievable watches. I mean, for real. I'm gonna say the movement. To me, they really make some beautiful movements. To me, personally, maybe not to you guys, but to me, Omega does some beautiful, you know, movements. And this is the Omega Speedmaster Chronoscope 43 millimeter. Has a white, white snail. Snail. That guy, those guys that stick in the wall, they walk around the snail. Yo lo oí bien, aquí la chupacabra. Que chupa mucho. They stick to the walls. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say? It's unbelievable, this watch, It's something, they call it the snail, Yeah, the logo, it has the logo too, on top of that. And this watch, the reference number, just in case you want to look for it, it's the 329304351. This thing is longer than a train station, 02001. Unbelievable, and it has a retail price of $10,000. $10,000. If you're looking to buy this watch, ladies and gentlemen, don't pay for this watch more. I'm like that, guys. This is the real channel. This is the real channel with the real prices. With the real prices. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Does anybody know what I'm going to tell you to pay for that watch? Does anybody know? Wait, it's way overpriced. You're right. You know what? Franco Fiore just said 50 cents to the dollar. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm stupid like that. Don't pay for that watch more, and I mean more, than $5,100. And done. Okay? There it is. So you know what's going on. 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 I mean, I tell you because I'm stupid like that. I tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I tell you the truth. That's why I'm the number one. We've been chosen by no other than Fudinki as the number one watch market update show in the world. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, today I was watching again those people, over there, those people from Feet Happy, the two brothers. One is tall, one is short. One talks a lot. One is introverted, they hang out with the toupee wigman from over there, from Beverly Hills, with the wig, the flower shirt, pink jeans, yellow shoes, green belt, eclectic, that man over there. And there was one guy dressed in red, all dressed in red, like a Ferrari, pit worker, mechanic, and he was over there talking. And ladies and gentlemen, he took out a watch. He thought it was the best thing in the world. To him, it was the best. To me, I see it like, sometimes, like I've always told my wife, I said, Mama, even Louis Vuitton sometimes gets it wrong. Even Prada sometimes gets it wrong. I told my wife that, sometimes she gets mad at me. I said, Mama, it's because it has a tag, doesn't mean it's going to be the best in the world. And sometimes in watches happens the same thing, It's because it says Gucci, it's because it says Christian Dior, doesn't mean, like one time my wife showed me a pair of shoes from Prada. And I told her, man, I mean, I love you, mommy, and you love me and I love you. Pero, son zapatos tan feo. Those shoes are ugly, She got kind of bitter at me, but she understood me, And I said, take it back to that Neiman place, Take it back to that Neiman place. You don't want that stuff. And sometimes Rolex even gets it wrong. Sometimes gets it wrong. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna tell you, don't pay for this watch, which is a Rolex Sky Dweller bust down, factory bust down, casing, oyster flex, everything, everything. Do not pay for that watch. Do not pay for that watch. Do not pay for that watch more. The reference number is 336259. Diamond bezel and casing. Don't pay for that watch more than $149,000. Okay? There it is. That guy was over there. He's over there with the, freak happy people. It's what it is. And our last watch of the day is an FP Journe. Octaluna. Salmon dial, 42 millimeter. Beautiful watch. FP Journe, beautiful, beautiful rose gold with a leather strap. It's a beautiful watch. And I'm going to tell all of you, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that FP Journe Octaloon Salmon dial, 42 millimeter rose gold. Don't pay more than $141,000 and drop it. Okay, guys? There's your watch market update. I hope you guys learned something. Yes, they're the ones. They're the ones. And I'm going to tell you something, Damon, just in case you don't know this, and they're doing a good damn job. Yes, they are. They're doing, I can tell you they're doing a good job. They really are. They're doing a real good job. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy the watch market update. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope we all learn something together. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. We also have a private watch group under my name, Juan Nieves, in Facebook. Go to About. You'll find there Opus and Time watches, and maybe in Samantha and Kino will let you in the watch market platform that we have there. Right, guys? Anyway, guys, like we say every other day, take care and brush your hair. Thank you so much for everything, guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for everything. Be well, guys. Stay cool, stay right. Be smart. No sean lambones y palomos.